My guest in the Nimataion today is Darragh Mason, and together we are spinning a yarn. Darragh, you're an author, photographer, researcher, practitioner. Great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Really appreciate the invite. Really nice to be here.
So, Darragh, what has been your favorite childhood story?
I, Such a wonderful question. So I could have, before we get into it, just wanted to kind of thank you for that proposition. It's such a delightful story. It's a delightful question to be asked. There's so many wonderful childhood stories that I go back to, and it's hard to pick out one specifically. But when I think about something that had kind of a profound effect on me,
Mm.
it was probably I had a childhood version, a ladybug version of Dracula,
Okay.
and uh, um, it was so impactful on me because I'd never experienced kind of any kind of character like this before, who was um so challenging, so dangerous, and equally was able to kind of bend the environment around him and kind of influence people. So that was a profound story for me, and I think kind of archetypically captured quite a lot of my psyche as a young boy.
Mhm.
Because I was fascinated with Dracula. And I don't know
Mhm.
what it says about my psychology to a degree, but it was kind of like I was absolutely fascinated about Dracula and had less compassion for the human beings trying to evade him.
I mean,
Um,
he is a larger than life figure, so
mm,
everyone just dwindles in comparison with him.
yes, yes,
Of
very true,
course, of
very
course.
true.
So
Uh,
you never were afraid of the vampire figure or Dracula in
no,
particular? No.
I mean, I'd get it. I'd understand why people would be kind of repelled or fearful of the figure, but I found it darkly fascinating, you
Hmm.
know. And I suppose, when we talk about kind of fear, I was one of those kids that when the light went out, I absolutely felt kind of night terrors, and I think there's a lot of people who explore the areas that we explore and had that as part of their childhood, that kind of the night, the darkness would kind of envelop them, and kind of imagination would run wild. And sometimes other things, would interact with us when we're very young. That I think that seems to be a common experience for people in this kind of peripheral area of exploration.
Quite common, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
But you never had yeah, this notion that maybe Dracula was hiding under your bed or would knock on your window when it was dark or something like that?
I mean, I think there were aspects of that for sure,
Okay.
but mostly I think I was drawn to and kind of, wanted to have powers like his, like
Ah,
those magical powers to
mm,
transform, to hypnotize, to fly, all those kind of things.
mhm,
That
mhm,
those were the attractive things.
mhm, mhm.
Like his otherworldliness and his beyond human capability was absolutely magnetic, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. You said he could bend the world to his will, and
Mm.
I think that's a starting point for many occultists. Did you feel in some way otherworldly, not belonging on this planet, or I
Oh,
mean that's quite common as
yeah,
well.
yeah, 100%. When I was about like 8 or 9,
Mm,
um, I had managed to, uh, I had a little kind of writing desk in my room that was painted bright yellow. I had put Halloween is hugely popular when we were kids in Ireland, and it's a festival there. I know it's not as prominent in other places, but I had a kind of a black cloak that my mother had made for me because I was dressed up as Dracula, like
mhm,
as an 8-year-old. So I'd covered my writing table in this black cloth, and I had kind of little candelabras and stuff on it, and essentially it looked like a black altar. But if I look at it now, I look at that and I go, I was making,
mhm,
an occult altar as an 8-year-old
mhm.
without really understanding it. It was just the aesthetic,
Yeah.
that I was drawn to. But fundamentally, it's one of those things you're playing out what's in you and
Mhm.
what's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
manifest later in life.
Something in us just instinctively knows how to do it. how
Yeah,
to interact with the larger than human world.
exactly. Yeah.
And was this the starting point to your path to research these topics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I think there were some other quintessentially influential stories. I would say The Hobbit was a big one as well. A lot of Irish mythology that I would have had as a young boy, and would have got in school. The Fenian cycles, Fionn McCool, the Táin, Cuchulainn, all
Yeah,
those
of
kind of
course.
epics.
You can.
Yeah, yeah,
Speaking of larger than life.
exactly. Yeah. So all those epic tales
Mm,
were kind of part of that. You know, part of the components that built up the topography of my imaginal landscape. And ultimately that found expression, particularly when kind of teenage years kicked in. Um, my exploration into things took a kind of a more involved involved route. But like a lot of people, I hop from thing to thing. I think I spent a lot of my life exploring areas and practicing in certain areas and losing interest and moving into the next thing. But you kind
mm,
of build up this tapestry as a practitioner of different bits and different bobs to kind of find whatever
mm.
works for you the best.
What do you think? Because yeah, as you said, some people hop from one thing to another and then they leave the field altogether.
Yeah.
Uh, what kept you in the field?
I think a constant curiosity.
Hmm.
I think that was it. But also I didn't really find I didn't find what I was looking for a very long time. You
Hmm.
know, I wanted to see, I wanted to know, I wanted to understand. Um, and I was kind of compelled to do so. My photographic work was driven by that. Kind of really kind of all my creative expressions have been driven by that wanting to see or interpret or understand or come up against the other, you
Hmm.
know. And I would look at it now and go, well, I was driven by the other to do that, you
Hmm.
know. And that's where I see where that compulsion has come from, is that I've always been in that relationship with the other. It's just taken me 45 years to understand it, you know.
As it's common as well with so many stories that
Yeah,
you have to get through the whole story to
yeah,
understand it, to get it, and yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and I mean, in your photographic work and in your book that's coming up, you're also drawn to the dark side,
Yeah,
as with Dracula. So
yeah.
that's also a theme that
Mhm.
accompanies you through your life.
Yeah, this is it. I think it's one of those things with people who explore these areas. Some of us go up and some of us go down. So where for me it was I was from that time I picked up Dracula as a young boy. A picture book of Dracula, like it had an accompanying tape, cassette tape.
Hmm.
That you would read along with to teach you to read. And that's kind of the profound impact it had. So it literally kind of drew me into this
Yeah.
chthonic life.
Isn't it wonderful
Yeah,
learning to read with Dracula?
yeah,
Imagine that today.
yeah, yeah. But I see it in my children. Like one of my children in particular is just drawn to like chthonic images and like lots of like toy skulls that he's picked up.
Mhm.
It's like that. I'm at pains to point out to my partner who's not remotely interested in any of this at all. I'm like, that isn't me. That's him. He's found that himself.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's an imprint that just can be in individuals.
Mhm. Yeah.
And like that's the way. But the story pulls it out. And this is the thing I think that I'm really delighted by your question on so many levels, because like my book, The Dark Man, talks about the relationship between that energy, that archetype, that current with witchcraft. But it's a pains to stress that it's not just witchcraft. It is also creativity. It is also, I see father of witches, father of storytellers as well.
Mm.
It's that creative impulse that comes from a very, very similar place, this chthonic underworld where all things are born.
Mm. And today we shone a light in this dark place. And thank you so much for that, Dara.
My pleasure.
I'm looking forward to talk with you again soon.
That'd be great.
Great
That'd be
time.
great. Great day.
See you.
Take
The
care.
world
Bye
is
bye.
magic. Bye bye.
Bye bye.